Yeah, your 16 pizzas to the Pet Toon Studios in Surfers Paradise at 4 p.m. Yes, just bill it to the studio. No worries, thank you. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Pet Toon Channel. Our Pet Toon yesterday was a roaring success with its surf theme. Apparently everybody loves surfing, as I do. Today's going to be a little bit different. Today I'm going to be telling a yarn from my childhood. Yeah, it's going to be riveting. First though, I'll read a couple of messages from people from around the world who messaged me. The first is, let me see, it's from Sophia in Italy. Sophia says, "Thank you, Johnny, for your wonderful program. My heart skips a beat when your face flashes up on the screen." Sophia. But tell me, Johnny, whatever did happen to those other two amigos? What became of them? Well, Sophia, now Swampy, one of the three amigos, he ended up being a NASA engineer and was instrumental in getting the space shuttle up into space. He's a bloody genius, old Swampy. Right now, he's a US Senator and he's doing very well for himself. Had a couple of marriages, made a couple of $1 million. So that's another success story. Jonesy, though, the last of the three amigos, his story's a little different. Jonesy had a crack at the pro surfing circuit. Couldn't do it, couldn't hack it. He never was much bloody good. And then he drifted north, up into Southeast Asia for a while, lived up there, did some shady business deals, ended up writing a book that completely bombed, and then he went on to writing stage plays, and he put two of those out, and those two stage plays just flopped, and I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't had contact with him for years and years, but Jonesy, if you're watching, and I'm pretty sure he is because a lot of people watch the Pet Toon Channel, Jonesy, give me a call. I'm here for you, mate, and I haven't forgotten the good old days. All right? Thanks, Sophia. It's great to hear from you, and hello again to all my friends back in Paris. Now, yesterday, I did some tips on the care and well-being of invisible dogs. As you all know, and probably saw at the beginning, I have Wilson the invisible dog, had him for quite some time, no trouble at all. One question was raised though. I did mention that the invisible dogs, shed a lot of hair. One viewer, they wanted to know just how bad that can be. So I thought, well, it's not that bad, but I'll give you a little demo. Here's what I do to get over the shedding problem of invisible dogs. And this is how it comes up after a bit of a vacuum. Now it's time for our employee profile, as we've been doing for the last couple of days, and they've been very popular. We've got mail from all over the world on our employees. It's something we want to do here at the Pet Toon Channel, particularly me, because I'm very keen on making all my staff feel important, even if they're not. Now, this is Edna. She is our administration girl, our upfront office girl, my secretary, my personal assistant, you name it. That's what Edna does. This is Edna. She lives in her little unit here on Surfers Paradise, and she's been in there for 43 years, she tells me. And we love having her here. And good luck to you, Edna. We love you. Now it's time for the Pet Toon. But it's not really a Pet Toon today because it's got no pet in it. It's just got some old bloke and me in it as a little 7-year-old boy. It was a very, very hot day when my dad and I went to a shearing shed in East Gippsland. And that's where the story begins. My dad was a farmer, and when I was around 7 years old, I went with him to a shearing shed in East Gippsland. Now, I was born and raised on a farm, so I knew farmers and their ways, but this visit opened my eyes to the men of the 1960s. These blokes worked hard, and despite what you may think, hardly ever swore at all. And when a bell clanged, they would finish the sheep they were on and sit down where they could and wait for it, had a cup of tea. To make even more of an impression on a young kid, some of their teacups had a bit of cold tea in the cup from the last break, and the blokes would throw that out and pour in another cup from their thermos without washing the cup. Struth! And the dogs worked hard too. And I remember they were yelled at a lot and hardly ever got a pat. And it seemed like the harder their owner yelled at them, the more the dogs seemed to like the owner. Pretty strange, that. But the main thing that struck me was an older bloke called Frank. Frank was 60 or so, and he was tall and skinny, sun-tanned, with a 3-day growth of a beard and a huge Adam's apple. I remember him saying, "G'day, Alan." Alan was my dad. And my dad introduced me, which made me feel pretty important for a 7-year-old. Frank said, "G'day, John," and reached down and shook me hand. I was a bit stunned at how hard he took me hand and squeezed it. Now, old Frank leant back on the guardrail and started talking to me dad about the weather. "It's dry," he drawled, and as he talked, he took a packet of tobacco out of his pocket, grabbed a pinch of it, took out a paper, stuck that paper on his lip and rolled the tobacco around in his hands. "Yeah," he said, "Vila prices are still good despite the dry." As he talked, the white paper on his lip bounced around, and my 7-year-old eyes were fixed on it, sure it would fly off in the breeze. Eventually, he began to roll the cigarette and seemed to take forever. Licked the glue and shoved it into the side of his mouth, but, still talking, didn't light it. I couldn't take my eyes off the damn thing as it bounced around in his mouth. Now, as it jiggled about, I observed tobacco falling out of the thing. This continued for some time until half the tobacco had fallen out. Frank struck a match at last, but, still talking, I watched wide-eyed as he waved the lit match about with emphasis. That's going to burn his hand, I thought. But at the last moment, he put it to the cigarette. Now, seeing as there was no tobacco in the first inch or so, the cigarette flamed up in a small ball of flame. Without a pause, Frank just pumped away on what was left and kept talking to my dad in that Aussie drawl. Yeah, it was a big day for a little kid back then, and I've never forgotten Frank. And 50 years later, I used him as inspiration for my illustrations in the kids' book, Bruno the Boisterous Blue Dog from the Bush, written by Robin Osborne. Now, Frank was a lot older than Bob in the book, but it was him nonetheless. Yeah, that brings us to our pet tune. But there's no pet in it, just me and Frank, and here it comes. Yeah, good old Frank. He's probably dead now. That was years ago. But he certainly made an impression on a 7-year-old boy, and it's stayed with me all these years. But I don't know whether they're shearing sheep up there still or what they're doing up in East Gippsland. They've probably got robots shearing the bloody sheep for all I know. It's been that long. But that just about brings us to the end of our Pet Toon for today. But before we go, don't forget the Pet Toon Channel is striving for 1 million subscriptions by the end of March. This March. And I've got YouTube administration all the way behind me. You can do it, Johnny, they say. And that's what we're after. We're getting there, but we need you to subscribe. Hit that button wherever it is down there. I don't know where it is. I never seen it, but there's one down there apparently. Hit it, and we'll get those 1 million subscriptions. But until then, it's goodbye from me and the Pet Toon Channel, and I'll see you tomorrow or the next day or whenever the hell we get another one out. Goodbye.